Hi everybody! I'm so excited to be here with you in the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo and with all of my friends in the Stamping Village. I'm Cindy with Dare to be Artsy. I'm going to show you some really fun new slimline dies and new products. I'm also going to show you how to make this really cute slider card. We've got lots of other samples to share with you, so let's go get artsy together.
We're going to create a slimline slider card with our Just Chillin' stamp set and die, our Snowflake slimline border, our Wavy Slimline Framelets, and our wavy borders. This fun whimsical wave is going to create the hills. We're going to start out by coloring our little polar bear. I like to use 2 shades of gray. It could be Copic. I'm using Tombow this time. I take the lightest gray first. I start from the outside and just use flicking motions in towards the center of the polar bear. And you're going to just spin the polar bear, go from every little side that's going to be in the shade. When I look at this, I think of the light as hitting him, kind of his face first. So everything on the left is going to be a little bit darker. Everything that's tucked in where you're going to want the shadows to be. Make sure you get on the underneath side of his, where his neck is, where his scarf is, a little bit on the front of him, but not as far in because you really want that to be brighter. And get a little bit around his ears. You can go ahead and put a little bit on the penguin, just where he's tucked in there. Don't forget the tail. Then you're going to use the second color, the little bit darker gray. You're going to go in the same area, but not quite as far in. And I'm using a little bit lighter touch. So this time you can see a little bit more of the brush strokes instead of blended. And again, you're just going to go kind of over the same areas that you went before. Make sure you get under the scarf, behind the scarf, tucked in where his neck is, and you can see the little brush strokes a little bit better this time. And then I always go back at the very end with the lightest color again and blend it out a little bit more. So you can use this technique on lots of different animals. If you don't want to color them, do a whole lot of coloring, just put the shadows in. I added a little bit of pink to his little paw on his cheek and in his ear. And then this is a 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐵 black, and I'm going to make his nose a little bit glossy, and I'm leaving a teeny little white dot. So it just looks like a little bit of a shine on his nose. Then here he is all finished up. I've done the sled and added the rest of the colors in there. We used the die cut that comes with, or that matches the Just Chillin' stamp set to cut them out. And then I poked a little hole and I just tied a little string in there. And then we're going to go ahead and make some of the other pieces. There's our little penguin. Now I want him to hang from a snowflake. So use the pokey tool and you're going to put 3 holes in. One in his arm, kind of down in the middle, and one under his arm. Then you thread the string through and it looks like he's really holding on to the rope really tight. And then I tie the other end to a snowflake, and I just put some extra glue on the back, let that dry really good. So it's going to hold it in place. And we'll set him to the side until we're ready for him. Then let's go ahead and start getting the main part of our card ready to go. I start with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and I cut it down to 8.5 by 7.5. And then I just fold it in half. And then we're using our So Much Fun paper collection. And I'm using the outside frame from our Wavy Slimline Framelets to cut out the teal. Then the 2 banner pieces I used for the center. I want that banner to be thick. That's why I went ahead and layered them up, stamp dashing through the snow on it. That's going to be our pull tab. Then for the Wavy Slimline borders, we're going to take 2 pieces of white paper. One's a little bit taller than the other. And then we're going to be layering them, but I cut them out the same shape, but I'm going to slide one piece over because I want them to be staggered. And I'm going to cut off 1 inch on the end. And then I've added some of the snowflakes from our Snowflake Slimline border. And it has the Happy Holidays in it, which is what we're going to use as well. And I just think that white on white adds a nice little touch. Now we're using the slider piece, and I'm going to center it on the white piece. I'm going to go 1 inch up, and we're going to go ahead and cut that out. And this isn't going to show, that's why I could write on that, because that's going to be the back layer. So that's going to be the slider mechanism, and we're going to hide it. So it's not your traditional slider card. I don't want that part to show, and we're going to hide the little saying behind. So we're going to go do the first side, the back first, and this little ribbon is, you don't want it all the way down to the end because we're going to put foam tape along the bottom. So I'm going to lay this there so you can tell how far over from the left that we want to do the foam tape. It doesn't go all the way across. So the foam tape's just about 1/4 inch wide, close to the bottom. And you're going to want it on the left side as well, but not on the right side. So by putting it all along there, it's going to give it some really nice stability there. Seeing that little banner is going to be hidden. Tuck that down, make sure it's not going to show. There's a little area on the left that we can still do a little bit more of the foam tape. So this time I'm going to put it on the hill itself, just to make sure it doesn't show when we attach that top layer. Okay. Now on the right side, there's going to be a little bit of space, but I don't want it to be on top of the banner, so you just kind of have to watch that part. Here I show you taping. I taped this down, but I actually realized I don't want it taped yet, so. I almost forgot this little tab piece. This is 2.5 inches deep and about 1/2 inch wide. And I took 2 pieces of paper and taped them together just because I want this piece to be a little bit sturdier. So this is where the slider card is a little bit different. We're going to tape the little flag to the back of our little pennant. And I'm using score tape because I just think it's a little bit stronger. So I'm putting 2 pieces on there so it'll be nice and strong. And this is going to attach all the way to the end of the banner. Okay. Now I'm going to lay it into position, and our polar bear is going to be attached to the flag. So now I can tape this down, and we're going to flip this over, and now we're going to attach the penny. So you take a penny and you take some foam tape, and you don't want it to be wider than the channel. So make sure it fits just inside that little channel. I'm taking a little powder thing so that the sides don't stick to the channel. Then go ahead and attach the penny. And now I keep testing this all along the way because I don't want to get the top layer on and have it not work. So you're going to just make sure it slides back and forth really good. Working well. Okay, then when we attach the top layer, you're going to see that your banner is hidden. And then we just have the flag sticking up. So now let's go ahead and use some more foam tape. So the hill on the right side needs a little bit of stability and needs to stand up. But make sure you don't put the tape on the end because your little banner has to slide through there. Okay, so this goes all the way to the end. And we're going to test it one more time. Again, we just want to make sure it's going to slide back and forth. There we go. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and attach this piece to the base of the card. So we want to use some more foam tape because we have a penny back there which has dimension. So we want the foam tape to hold, to stand up so that the penny moves freely. So go ahead and put the foam tape all the way around the edges. Stay pretty close to the edges. And the key is that you don't want the foam tape to be close to the penny. Like you don't want the penny to run into the foam tape. And we just test it one more time. Make sure it moves without touching the foam tape. And so far so good. Now we can go ahead and put some foam tape on the ends. And I'm putting a little bit close to the channel too. I really like this kind of slider card because I think it's fun to have that little slider part hidden. Okay, this is going to attach to the bottom. There we go. Testing it again just to make sure. The next part is attaching the polar bear. So you're going to attach, again, the polar bear just to the flag. You don't want to attach it to the hill itself. So I'm just positioning it so it doesn't extend above the card, and I want it to be above the Happy Holidays. So I'm just putting score tape again on the flag. I just think the score tape holds a little bit stronger. And again, we're going to just attach right behind the penguin. And then we're testing it again. Look, it's working. Okay, now the fun part is we want the penguin to be pulling the sled. So we're going to attach the penguin to the end of the banner. I'm using foam tape because I want him to stand out a little bit. And then we want to go ahead and tie the string around his arm. So I kind of want it to look tight. So I'm going to lift that up, wrap the string around his little hand or his wing. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, put some tape on the back just so it's really tight. Okay, then I can attach it now to that piece of foam tape. There you go. Now you can pull the little penguin, and he pulls out the sentiment and pulls the sled. Next, we're going to add our other penguin. And we're going to put some foam tape behind this one. The foam tape is also going to help hold the string in place. We've taped it, but that's just another way to make sure it stays in there really tight. And the snowflake is just pulling him along. We want to attach the snowflake, so I'm going to go ahead and use just a glue dot. You could use foam tape too, I just didn't want it to show, so I just thought the glue dot might work a little bit better. And attach that. And voila! Kind of a fun little slider card. And of course we need to add some glitter to this. So I'm just putting some Nouveau drops in the center of a bunch of the different snowflakes. And we'll go ahead and put some on the hill as well. And we might as well dot the eye and put a little bit on his hat. You can't have too much glitter. So that'll dry and be nice and sparkly. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We put "To wish you a happy holidays" on the inside. I'm not going to pull it all the way over just because we want our drops to dry. Here's another version using the snowflake die. You can see the little mittens come with the die as well. And here's another one using the slimline die on a A2 size card. And don't forget the scrapbookers. It's a great way to embellish your scrapbook page. And these penguins are so versatile. Here it is, a little wine tag for New Year's. We're using our So Much Fun paper collection, and I just want to show you a few other things about this collection. We have the stamps and dies that match. So the bears that cut the bears out of the stamp are also going to cut the bears right out of the paper. And then we have Chris Moose stamp, and the moose dies are going to cut the moose out, and even the little hat's going to cut one of the hats out. So it's a really great collection for the holidays. We're going to do another card. This is another slider card. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're using our curved slimline borders this time with a really steep hill. And we're using the same outside border, but here I've cut a white piece of paper with the hill, but I want the bottom of it to still have the stitches in it. So I use that same frame that I cut the base out of. And then this little teeny snowflake, I just stamped a little bit with that from the 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐴𝐤 stamp set. So we're also using the Wavy Slimline Framelets. Again, that's the outside, and then the very inside pennant, we did 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐴𝐤 in white emboss on the red banner. And we used the little slider mechanism again from our other border dies. This time it's going to be vertical. So we're going to go ahead and cut that out. This is from the Wavy Slimline dies. I'm going to go ahead and just tape this little hill on the bottom. And I just love this paper collection because I think this is a really neat scene that I use a lot. Okay, I'm going to just take my white card base And we want to pop this up with foam tape. So we're going to, again, we're making a slider card, so there's going to be a penny in the back. So it needs to slide easily, so you need it to pop off the page a little bit. So we're going to go all the way around the edge. Now you can do the same card by stamping the bears and coloring them in yourself, but this time I chose to use the bears right out of the paper. I'm going to put some foam tape on the inside too, just so it doesn't squish down, but again, you want to make sure that the penny is going to be free from hitting the other pieces of foam tape. And our cardstock is a nice heavy weight too, so it holds up really well for these kind of slider cards. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the card base, and as I was putting this down, I was kind of a little bit crooked, so I tried to adjust it, and that wasn't going to work. So we're just going to leave it slightly crooked. That's okay. All right. Now we're going to put our penny in here. I probably should have slid the penny in first and then put the foam tape on, because I was kind of struggling getting him in there, but I did want to use the powder to put on the sides of the foam tape so it's not so sticky. But again, it was a little bit, oh yeah, I forgot it. This little strip, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there too, just so the white, it kind of disguises that white slider piece. So this is just the piece that I cut out of that, the center of the paper, and I'm just going to drop it back in. It's going to kind of sink down to the bottom. Again, it just kind of disguises that slider piece. Now we're going to slide the penny back in, and I was just struggling a little bit getting it in there. Okay, there it goes. All right. Now the foam tape is showing, and you're going to go ahead and make sure it slides easily. And then we're going to go ahead and put the bear with the skis on it. So then he's skiing down the hill. And then we are going to put his little friend down at the bottom. This stamp set, the 𝐒𝐭𝐬𝐧𝐴 Greetings stamp set, has some really nice little sentiments. It's got wishing you a very Merry Christmas, love you more than I can bear, I could hibernate with you all winter long. So it's a really fun stamp set. Let's go ahead and add 𝐒𝐭𝐬𝐧𝐴 Greetings sentiment to the top. And I put some foam tape behind that. We'll just pop that up a little bit. I think that looks good. So we'll just take some scissors, snip off the end. And you have another fun slider card. Here's another example of a card where we've stamped and colored the bear in. Now let me show you our Gear Slimline die. Here's an example with, it says, "You're not old, you're a classic." And then this one, "Take time to make your soul happy," with foil paper. And then I love the white on white. I think it's very elegant. These last two cards are using the Cuckoo Clock stamp set. And then the first one is using the classic dad stamp set. It's got Happy Father's Day, Happy Birthday. This die is going to be great for so many different occasions. Here's our Wavy Slimline Framelets again. This is just a good example of how many different things, different layers that you can get out of this one die. And here's a really good example of how you can create a frame, like a little window frame with your dies. This is using our Bear Hug stamp set. It says, "Hey you, I miss your face. You touched me, you touched my heart from 6 feet away." And then here's our next newest set. It's called Fruit Loops. I love the texture in this set. Here I used gold foil to create that background. And let me just show you a little example of how you can have some fun with this stamp set. I'm using our pumpkin orange ink, our pomegranate red, and our wild orchid purple. Our inks are dye inks. Our black and brown are hybrid, so they work great with Copic markers. They're not going to bleed. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple more purple. Now the purple here looks really dark, but it lightens up a little bit as it dries. There are so many fun little sentiments in this set. Stay true to yourself. An original is worth more than a copy. We're going to go ahead and add a little half circle with the gray marker on the left side. So this is just going to add a little bit of fun, a little dimension to it. It's going to kind of look like it's floating in milk. And then, a nice little final touch, we're going to take a little white gel pen, add a little half circle on the right side with a couple extra dots. This is really going to make these guys look like Fruit Loops. You're going to have so much fun with this stamp set. Now go out there and be a Fruit Loop in a world of Cheerios. Be sure and visit our website, 𝐷areToBeArtsy.com, to see all these great slimline dies and new stamp sets. We have a great special going on. If you spend $35, use the code ARTZY35 for $5 off. If you spend $75, use ARTZY75 for $10 off. Thanks, and I dare you to be artsy.